By all accounts, may contain sporadic profanity and occasional innuendo because we're no longer bound by the constraints of the FCC empire. Let me ask you, Zach, how emotional did you get coming to terms with the fact that the NBA season concluded?
Finally, it's over. Good God almighty. I can't watch any more of this shit.
Thank God the death march is over. Let's start the open. By all accounts, is not recorded in front of a live studio audience. All right, so just to make sure that we're being fully transparent, am I happy the Boston Celtics won the NBA championship? No, not at all. But that, I don't think, has an enormous effect on why I feel the way I feel. I am by no means a watch the NBA to hate on it. I think that there is a sect of sports fans that just, they always watch to hate. Like, there's a time and a place for that. I'm certainly not past hate watching, but I don't watch the NBA to hate on it. I genuinely love the game of basketball. I love pro basketball. I love the NBA. But, and again, I don't think that this is because of the Celtics winning the championship, maybe just a small little contributing factor. But, Zach, I feel absolutely nothing, zero, empty. I'm a charred husk inside over the NBA season coming to an end. There was absolutely, and I'm pro in-season tournament, absolutely no juice when all is said and done about this NBA season. And I don't know why I can't quite put a finger on it, but I legitimately, and I'm not joking, maybe it's life circumstances, I don't know, but I feel nothing with the NBA season over. Like, how do I explain that?
I can easily explain what my feelings were last night. It was midway through the first quarter before I forgot the game was even on. Okay? I'm not even joking. Coming from a guy that's coming here to do a sports podcast today, who does it 18 million times a week, who talks with Ken religiously through the week about what we're going to talk about and topics we're going to do, I'm more pissed than I am happy this morning because of this. I am used to, and maybe it's me going back in revisionist history, I'm used to having Father's Day Sunday with something on TV outside of golf, because normally there is golf. I feel like there's always golf on Father's Day. There's always some tournament, small, big, there's something there. I feel like I grew up on Father's Day Sunday watching Jordan, watching something in the NBA playoffs or the finals. Maybe it wasn't the finals, but it was the Eastern or Western Conference finals. And yesterday, I'm just sitting there. I'm like sitting in the house. My wife's like, what do you want to do today? Like, and I was thinking to myself, man, there would be nothing better than if somehow my brother, who's not a dad yet, he's the greatest uncle in the world. I love you, Josh. Getting on the grill, making some steaks, burgers, dogs, beans in the oven, fries, the whole deal, corn on the cob, and then watching some NBA finals, game 6, game 7, game 5, whatever it was going to be yesterday. Obviously game 5, but like, where was it? Where was my sports? And I'm not shitting on golf. I'm not. I actually do like watching like the last round of golf, really competitive, 4 guys in the mix. That's fine. My wife will watch Masters, which is incredible too, because she knows nothing about the sport, but seems like she needs to sit and watch the Masters on Sunday when it's on. There was a hole in my life on Sunday. Yeah. And I think that's what happened to me last night when I'm just kind of like getting the kids sleepy, making sure the house is kind of tidy before I go to sleep. I have OCD. That's what happens, folks. Don't worry. I got to make sure there's no dishes like out. I have to do that. And then I'm thinking to myself, damn, Ash, what are we going to watch tonight? Matthew's sleeping. Like, what are we going to watch? And they're like, oh, shit, game 5's on tonight. And she goes, oh, basketball. I'm like, I forgot. So maybe that's my whole thing of the basketball season like you're talking about. In a nutshell, game 5 started, and I forgot it was on last night until about the 8-minute mark in the first quarter.
I have a couple of theories about why, because I think you and I are at least in the same neighborhood here when it comes to the NBA this season. I have a couple of theories about why we feel the way we do. First and foremost, it stems from the Heat. Predictably mediocre. Yeah, finals last season. It didn't get appreciably better. The massive letdown that was Damian Lillard. Fuck Joe Cronin forever. And like the offseason just sucked.
Right.
And things never really got awesome at all. And then at the end of the year, once again, you're fighting to get into the play-in, and everybody gets hurt. And there was never any traction to the Heat season. So there's leg one of this theory here, okay? Then there's the Celtics aspect. How much can the Celtics finally break through discourse can we have over the last 7 years of Tatum and Brown before we're finally just exhausted? We've been bludgeoned in the face over and over and over and over again by the discourse before we just die inside completely. Great. They broke through. But another thing about the Celtics, and I think this is why it's just sort of meh, them winning the championship. One, it's the Celtics, so that sucks. But two, there is no redeeming personality on that team at all. Joe Mazzulla, weirdo.
Right.
Jaylen Brown, robotic. Jayson Tatum, corny. Al Horford, old. Kristaps Porzingis, hurt. Like there's nothing there. Derek, right. Bald. I don't know what's there to attach yourself to because there's no robust Jimmy Butler personality or no unique Luka Doncic personality or no LeBron. Like there's just nothing there. The Celtics are the vanilla ice cream of elite basketball. And then there's the third leg of all of this. We're so consumed by the Florida Panthers right now that the NBA Finals delivered nothing in terms of emotion because at least in our area, us, and I think there's a lot of people like us, nothing is stimulating us unless it's the sheer terror of giving up a 3-0 lead to the Edmonton Oilers.
That's right.
Feel like they could be reasons why this also the fact that the NBA season really didn't have a ton of drama whatsoever, right. And it felt real concocted and forced in the entire thing. The All-Star game sucked. Yeah, all those are contributing factors, but those three different avenues I took, does that feel like at least in the realm of possibility those could be the contributing, fueling major factors to this?
Yeah, and you know what I'll do with the three factors you gave? I'll put them in the order I think they should be in for us, and I honestly think your third one was the first one. I think the fact that we're now consumed, if you would have told me at 12 or 13 years old as a massive NBA basketball fan, I'm talking about All-Star weekend, 20 of my buddies sleeping at my house for the weekend, like a big sleepover, All-Star Friday night, All-Star Saturday night, mom's getting 20 pizzas for All-Star game on Sunday. Like that's how we used to like watch NBA basketball, like crazy, every game, 82 games. And up until I started working in the business and I started going to basically all 41 home games for the Heat and going to some away games and going to the playoff games to the point now. But if you would have told 12 or 13-year-old Zach and his friends that when we're 45 years old in about 30, 32 years, we're going to be engulfed and like every second of the day for about a week and a half or more than that, be just hockey crazy, like nuts. Like I can't talk enough hockey. And I don't know anything about hockey. I still right now, if you told me you're going to end the podcast, if I can't explain what icing is, I have no fucking clue what icing is. I have no idea. Is it the same thing as offsides? Do you get a penalty for it? I don't know. I know at the end of the game, the score of the game is the only thing that matters, and penalty, and they're allowed to fight. I love hockey for those reasons because I'm like a rookie hockey fan because we never grew up. And I know you grew up in Chicago. You had hockey. It was a part of your lifestyle. South Floridians, my age and younger, and even older, but not younger because the younger generation is kind of getting into it. But I would say the 30-year-old mark and older, we didn't grow up with hockey unless you grew up somewhere else. You didn't have the Panthers down here. And when you did, you got them when you were 14 or 15 years old. It's when you can start to love it, but they weren't, it was hockey. We had basketball and football down here. I would go your answer 3 at first. I would say the Celtic stuff has to be second. and the Heat stuff, and kind of has to be third because of the fact that you're right. I think if the Heat made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, we would be watching a lot more and be much more into it. The fact that this season never felt like a real season for the Heat, you said it eloquently, perfectly, like 10 times on this podcast so far, because of the fact I felt like the season never really started, never really ended. Where was the middle? Is Jimmy Butler okay? What's up with Tyler? It feels like the season never happened for the Heat to a point. And the hate watching Celtics stuff just got old after a while.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this. I want to add a fourth element to this, but that starts today. It didn't start last night. It didn't start a month ago. I got nauseous this morning with the talk of how many more championships can the Celtics win now? Is this a dynasty? Can they? I think I heard Greeny or someone say this morning, like, if I put the over under at 2.5 for championships for Tatum and the Celtics and Brown right now, what are you taking? And they're going over. We think it's going to be 3 or 4 before it's all said and done. My only thing to that is, and I'm going to let you go after this, if the Heat were at full strength, if the 76ers were at full strength, if the Knicks were at full strength, if the East was at full strength, and it's never like that. I get it. It's the same thing in football. We talk all the time. Man, if the Dolphins only had their pass rushers, maybe they could have beat KC. Well, if my grandmother had balls, she'd be my grandfather. That stuff doesn't happen. But if all the teams in the East were at 90%, not even 100, I don't think the Celtics make it out of the second round. Forget about winning the NBA championship. And of course, on the other side of it, if Kyrie Irving woke up for more than one game in the series, maybe it would be a little different also. There's my Boston hate rant, I guess, for the show today.
I think it's good, and I'll kind of go backwards, addressing what you just threw out there, because I think you're spot on with a lot of this. As far as Kyrie is concerned, we spent a good amount of the series, and the national talking heads spent a lot of the series focusing on Luka Doncic, and rightfully so. He's a horrific defender. He's frustrating because he has endless talent, but he is, as Doris Burke pointed out multiple times during the finals, he's out of shape. He has not worked on his body properly enough to finish off a season with a trophy. Some might say, why would you focus? Well, it matters. Okay. It absolutely unequivocally matters. And you saw it in this series as he was getting absolutely dogged late in games. Okay. And his obsession with whining to the officials, it distracts his game. It's one thing if, LeBron, he just does it, but it distracts his game. And that's a problem. But forget Luka for a moment. Kyrie Irving, not even averaging 20 points a game in the series, having one game in the series where he was on the plus side of the plus minus on the stat sheet, and shooting 41%, 8 full percent off of his regular season average. That ain't cutting it. He showed up once, and that was in game 3 of the NBA Finals. That is it. He is the bad goat of all of this when it comes to the discourse surrounding the Mavericks. Now, as far as dynasty is concerned, I am 100% with you. The Celtics, and again, this does not invalidate the championship in any way, shape, or form, because you need a lot of breaks to go your way. And if you've gone 7 years with the same partner, Tatum and Brian, and you haven't found a way to break through, you are not going to apologize for finally breaking through, okay? But you don't have to face Jimmy, your nemesis, in the first round, okay? Then you go on to round number 2, and you're just facing a shell in that spot. Hold on. Who was it again in round 2 for them?
Was it Philly?
It was Philly, I think. No, that was the Knicks who had that. Hold on.
God, now I'm like, no, I hope
that's how forgettable this entire thing.
There it is right there. If it was a great series, we'd be talking about it going, holy shit, like they beat the hell out of this team, and it was great. I don't even know who
the Cavs. It was the Cavs. And so Donovan Mitchell goes down.
Right.
Donovan Mitchell gets hurt, so you just cruise through that. And then Tyrese Halliburton gets hurt with the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. So this was objectively one of the least road-bumped paths that we've ever seen. Not the Celtics' fault. No. It's how everything ended up playing out, but dynasty talk is good for business. And I think a lot of people are going to sit there and rationalize, look at how easy the Celtics made this look, and they'll just conveniently forget the actual personnel involved in the path. And it's good for business to talk about a Celtics dynasty. You have 18 championships now. It's a good for the bottom line. Can this be a dynasty? What I'll say is that, yes, they finally broken through, but I think the East is going to throw a lot at the Celtics. I think anybody, say Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves won the championship, it would be the same discussion. So I wouldn't get too caught up on that. It's going to be annoying, the Celtics dynasty talk. They're still young. The core is together, sure, but it's a lot easier said than done, especially in the NBA where you don't have a certified A-plus elite superstar. Jayson Tatum is not that, and Jaylen Brown is not that. I hate to say it, but sometimes the team ball aspect isn't necessarily the always championship path in the NBA. So I'm not willing to go there yet. Maybe it's just denial on my part.
Maybe.
They are the rightful champions, but I think that dynasty talk, that's just an easy place to go morning after a championship for a team of the young core like the Celtics have. I think that's all there is to it.
But I did like what I think I saw Windhorse this morning say, I'll give them credit for the fact that they've been together so long. They're still young. They have their core back. That's fine. But there is a certain team on the West Coast, the Nuggets, who still have the best, or if not the best player in the league, number 2 in the league, and they're about to sign their point guard to a 5-year mega deal that's going to keep them together. Both those guys are 5 or 6 years with that core that they have. We really can't count Denver out either. And if you told me, or if I even posed this question to you, over the next 5 years, who wins more championships? Would you say the Celtics or the Nuggets?
I'd probably say the Nuggets, because I think I don't think the Nuggets would be a very easy matchup for the Celtics.
Right.
Especially, you can never count on Kristaps Porzingis. It's easy to sit here and say, oh, well, he'll be healthy next year, right? No, because he's never healthy.
Right.
He's legitimately never, ever healthy. And you can never count on him to be there on the back end of an 82-game season, and especially into the playoffs. You just can't. His track record suggests you can't. So you mean to tell me that you're going to continue with, unless he retires, a continually aging Al Horford against Jokic? Good luck. Good luck. And the athleticism on the wings as well, whether it's Gordon, whether it's Porter, and occupying Tatum and Brown, like that stuff matters. And I think that the Celtics, and credit to the Timberwolves, they rightfully won that series, but the Celtics got another break not having to go up against the Nuggets in the NBA Finals. That's just how this season played out. There was no drama in this season at all. And then there's this. This is the first account we're getting to at NBA on ESPN. I don't necessarily love all of the hate that's directed towards Jayson Tatum. Any team in the NBA would love to have this guy. He's young. He's extremely talented. He appears to be more than okay with the team aspect of the sport. And there's a lot of debate. Is he really a superstar? People were celebrating he didn't win finals MVP, went to Jaylen Brown, like whatever.
Right.
But then he does stuff like this. And maybe this is at the core of why people root against Jayson Tatum. There's nothing original about him. And I knew this was going to happen. It was either he was going to try and recreate the Kobe trophy picture, or he was going to do something like try to recreate the Kevin Garnett anything is possible celebration speech. And he went the Kevin Garnett route. Again, at NBA on ESPN.
It's a surreal feeling. We did it. We did it!
I mean, I just, it's that stuff. It's the texting a dead Kobe and then screenshotting it for the world to see. It's just the weird quippy crap he puts out there. Everything he says comes off as disingenuous, from the toughness to the drive. I don't know. He seems like a caricature. And I think that's what bothers me about Jayson Tatum. He is a true Gen Z grew up consuming the internet, and now he tries to emulate all of those things. And it's such a turnoff when I want to like him. I want to support him. I don't like that people hate on him because his game is really, really good. But Jesus, man, like, be original for once in your adult life.
I just think that you said it right on the mark. Like, he is such an you could just tell that this kid grew up on his phone, like grew up on the YouTube and the Vine, and like he just did that. And that's who he is. That's who he is. He's genuinely that person. If we want to find out how genuine he is, he's genuinely that guy. He's the cringeworthy guy. Great basketball player. Would take him on my team 10 days out of 10. Like, I would take him every day. I wouldn't even care. He's a great player. But yeah, he's that guy. Like, I almost would rather the killer instinct and the kind of nasty faces from Jaylen Brown inside Jayson Tatum. I'd like to take those two guys, mix them together, and you'd make the perfect basketball player. Because I think Jaylen Brown's got the killer instinct, the FU attitude, and Jayson Tatum's got the Mickey Mouse Club. Like, he is a perfect person that I think that could be in the Mickey Mouse Club on Saturday mornings for my kid to watch. And Jayson and Brown's the kind of guy that at the end of the game, you're down 2. I'm getting him the ball before Tatum because I think he's got the killer instinct. But I think you said it spot on about Tatum. Tatum is just that. He's that guy. He's that character in the back that you're going to kind of laugh at. You feel good when he does something good, like they won the title, that's fine. But then he's got to do something like that to make you think, oh, Jayson, come on, bro. Put the phone down for a second.
Like, the most Gen Z athlete I think I've ever seen.
It's got to be right up there.
If he was not an NBA star, he would just be a TikTok creator. Right. I firmly believe that because that's what he immerses himself in. And what's wild is the dichotomy between him and Jaylen Brown. They couldn't be any more different. Jaylen Brown is like a whole ass rocket scientist. He speaks multiple languages.
Right.
Like, he's insane. He'd be at the United Nations or working for NASA if it wasn't for the NBA. Jayson Tatum, I want to accept him, even though he is a dirty scumbag Celtic. Right. I like the game, and he's so talented, and he's so young, and has so much ahead of him. But maybe it just makes me old. I can't take the Gen Z-ness because nothing's original. There's no personality on this Celtics team, like absolutely none. And it drives me insane. And does it matter? No, but I prefer my team to have a soul. And it seems like the Celtics are just absolutely soulless. You've got Jesus coach over here, and you've got rocket scientist forward over here, and then you've got walking meme wing over here. It's just, there's nothing likable or embraceable about that team. Now, what I think is such a gut punch to Boston, and this actually does bring me solace this morning. I saw this last night. And if I was a Celtics fan, if I was a proud Bostonite, if I was Sully and Worcester, I'd be really upset. Gary Washburn, Boston Globe. Celtics are headed to Miami for a few days to party. The parade is expected to be this Friday. Hashtag NBA Finals at G Washburn Globe. There's a photo of the Celtics locker room on the whiteboard. Flight to Miami tomorrow noon. That was taken last night during the celebration. Boston prides itself, world-class city, the epicenter of academia, the finest restaurants, culture, nightlife. And what are the Celtics doing? They are getting the hell out of there. They're evacuating to come to Miami, of all places. If I was from Boston, a proud Celtics fan, wanting to celebrate, hung over off confetti and booze last night, I'd be furious that my guys are skipping town to go to Miami. What a gut punch that is. Bostonites should be offended by that Celtics behavior.
How would you feel if the Heat won last night and on the chalkboard or the dry erase board was flight to New York at noon tomorrow, flight to LA tonight at, we're taking the red eye. Mickey's going to fly us out there tonight.
The only acceptable city would be Vegas. Acceptable.
Yes. Great call. If that chalkboard, that dry erase board said post game, pack a bag, be back at 4 a.m. for a flight to Vegas, and we're going to spend the next 3 days in Vegas. We're going to all fly back that red eye back Thursday night for the Friday morning celebration here in Boston. I think at that point we would have laughed at it a little bit more, going, you know what? I would have done the same goddamn thing. I would have flown to Vegas. I would have partied at their nightclubs. I would have been so excited. For the fact that this Boston Celtics team has landed, what had probably going to be landing or whatever it is by the time everyone watches this podcast in Miami and on their way to Club Live and the Fountain Blue Hotel and Prime 112, and they're going to be partying and spending all their money down here, I would be so pissed off if I was a Celtics fan. I would be fuming. I would be like, why are you going to Miami? Why are you leaving our city? We won here. You didn't win in Dallas and had to fly somewhere else. You won here. Sit your asses down. Go to you're not going to pay for a thing in Boston all night. All the fans are going to be out partying with you all night. This is going to be a fun time. Go celebrate. The fact they came down here to Miami says a lot about Boston right then and there. Who the hell wants to party in Boston? Nobody. They wanted to come to Miami immediately. They couldn't get here quick enough. If they could have flown right after the game, I think that those guys would have been fine saying, I'm sweaty, I haven't showered yet. Let's just get on the goddamn jet. Let's get to Miami. I'll shower at the Fountain Blue Hotel. I love it.
If it was the Sacramento Kings or the Utah Jazz or the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I was a fan of one of those teams, and a hypothetical they win the championship, I wouldn't be upset that they went to Miami. I get it. My city has limitations.
Right.
But Boston, who from a city standpoint says it's on the same level as New York. It's on the same level as Chicago. It's on the same level as LA. There's civic pride there. Their basketball team, after winning the 18th championship in franchise history, says, we're out. We're going to Miami. That is downright offensive. And if I were you Celtics fans, I would be turning your back on these people immediately. And I'll say this as someone in South Florida, we don't want them down here.
No.
You could have easily stayed your ass up in Boston. We don't give a damn. I don't want you down here. Zach doesn't want you down here.
Are you going to be happy? Are you going to be happy, Ken, when you see pictures like tomorrow and the day after of them celebrating with $100,000 bottles in Club Live in our city in Miami down here, or having $1,000 steaks at Prime 112 or Joe's Stone Crab? I'm actually kind of offended if these places do take them, but I get it because the economy sucks and you got to take as much money as you can right now. And if Boston's going to come down here with $500,000 to spend partying, I would accept their money if I was a business also. But good God, I don't care if they're down here or not. I'm not going anywhere near those parties. And if I see anyone out there, Miami people partying with these Boston people, oh God, that's cringeworthy.
I will. All right. So last night, I don't know if you saw, in the Celtics locker room during the celebration is Grant Williams, who was let go by the Celtics, let go by the Mavericks, and all of a sudden he's celebrating with the Celtics. Brother, you might have been on that team the last couple of years. You weren't on this team this year. This ain't your championship. Get the hell out. He's a Charlotte Hornet now. If I was the Hornets, I'd be like, what the hell? But to even to and I don't know how many Hornets fans exist, but he also dragged Brandon Miller with him. I'd be pissed if I was a Hornets fan and I have the veteran leader of my team and the future of my team, and not the future who's like hitting kids and breaking their feet in cars. Not that one, but the one who allegedly provided murder weapons in college. That one is solid franchise, Charlotte. Bringing him into the locker room, I'd be like, what are we doing here? What is this? If I see Bam out with Jayson Tatum, I am going to be livid.
Right.
Bam can visit with Jayson Tatum in the privacy of a hotel room, whatever, or at Bam's house. But that man best not be out with Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown and the Celtics at Club Live. That's all I'll say about that. I better not see Bam's face out at these clubs with the Boston goddamn Celtics hoisting the Larry O'Brien trophy.
Yeah, that would really make me upset if you started to see some of these guys. And let me tell you something. I don't think you have to worry, because those guys still have to answer to one person at the end of the day, that Heat team, and that's Pat Riley. and Pat Riley wouldn't let you shake the other guy's goddamn hand on the court, high five him or help him up. And if Pat Riley sees a picture of Bam or Tyler or any of those guys, because Jimmy ain't going to be there. There's no chance in hell.
No.
Jimmy Butler might leave the city for a couple days until the Celtics leave, and then he'll come back at that point. But one of these young guys, oh man, they just don't realize right now what the thought process would be with fans down here in Miami to see that kind of a picture, because we don't want to see it. But if we do, what our reaction is going to be. It's one thing for me and you to talk about it and say how livid we would be. Another thing, if you posted it right now, we started talking about a picture off Instagram of Jayson Tatum with like a cigar holding Larry O'Brien and hugging Bam or hugging Tyler Hero or one of those guys. Ooh, man, my blood is boiling thinking about that picture right now. I don't want to. Okay, there better not be one of those fucking pictures. That's all I'm saying right now, because I don't know how I would take it as a fan. I know I'm in the media, but I have to take that hat off for a second and say, if I see one of those pictures, you're probably dead to me at this point, and I don't care if you get traded. I really like, that's how pissed off I would be at that point.
Oh, if it was, I mean, for me, Tyler Hero's already 1 foot out the door. That would be he'd be completely dead to me in that spot.
You're done. You're out. Right.
I don't want to get too hardcore for our non-South Florida viewers and listeners into the Panthers, but I did want to say this, because this is being recorded on the day of Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final. I am a born and raised Chicagoan, a Blackhawks fan who over the last couple of years has really developed an affection for the Florida Panthers, the franchise, the players, but most especially the fans. And this is why, as the Panthers started to generate more attention because they were good, especially winning the President's Trophy and then making trades, getting to the Stanley Cup Final last year, being dominant this year, being on the doorstep of the Stanley Cup Final. I did not encounter one Panthers fan who tried to gatekeep the fandom. Oh, you weren't here 30 years ago. You weren't here 20 years ago. You weren't here 10 years ago. You weren't here 5 minutes ago. You're not allowed. It was always, come on, enjoy this with us. I am desperately hoping, because I spent all of Sunday in a horrific mood after Game 4, getting embarrassed in that 8-1 monstrosity in Edmonton. I was in a horrific mood. And I'm a Panthers fan. I want them to win the Stanley Cup. I'm excited for them. I am not a native South Floridian, but I truly have latched onto this team. I hope for Panthers fans, the ones who have been there, not the newcomers like me. And again, I have so much respect for the old school Panthers fans. Are they small in number? Sure. Are they there? Absolutely. Are they passionate? Hell yeah, they are. I don't want to see them have to agonize into a Game 6 and have the potential lingering in their mind of, could this really happen to this team that's been so good, that's so deserving, that's so built for this? I don't want them to have to go through that agony, that torture. I hope to God, for the Panthers fans' sake, that the Panthers finish this off, do it on home ice, because these Panthers fans deserve it. And these Panthers fans, I would hurt for them severely if they had to go through the what if for another 3 days, 5 days, God forbid, 8 days.
I'm with you there, because you lose that type of a game, and it's a huge gut punch. It's a punch right in the nuts. Like, it sucked. It was over from the beginning. Like, it was, I mean, by the time you blink twice, the game was done. Game 4 was over. You're down. You're up 3-1 now. Let's get home and let's figure it out. I have every feeling in my body that this is going to be done. And like you said, we're taping it on game day, so it's going to be tonight. I have a feeling what's going to end up happening to everyone listening and watching out there is you're going to see a emergency, by all accounts, podcast tomorrow talking about the fact that we have a hockey champion down here in South Florida. And another thing you could have told 10 or 12-year-old Zach, that if we had a hockey team in South Florida and we're going to win a Stanley Cup, I would have been like, what are you talking about? Like, are you crazy? This is not a hockey town. I'll tell you this. All this team needs to do is win tonight, because they have a team that's going to be good for a couple years. This is not a team that the the GM with a couple of 40-year-olds on it looking for a championship and to retire. Like, this team is built to win. They've done a great job, and I got a feeling it's going to end tonight. They have guys on this team, and I don't think a lot of our South Florida teams have a lot of them. There are some, like the Dolphins have Tyreek, and the Dolphins have guys like that, and the Heat have Jimmy and Bam. Other teams would love to have that. I think there's 5, 6, 7 guys on this Panthers team that every other team around the NHL would love to have on their team playing for them. And that's one of the first times we've ever had that for this hockey team, where they built it, they've done it right. Yeah, sure, they blew game 4, and it was bad. It wasn't 2-1 loss in overtime, and we're biting our tongues going, oh, we could have finished that out. I can't believe we blew it at the end. No, that game was over from the beginning. It just felt like it. The way the crowd was in Edmonton for that game, it was big. I got a feeling what the national audience is going to hopefully see tonight, because the South Florida fan right now knows what's at that arena. We had a Saturday night, they had a watch party, and they sold out the watch party. Mm-hmm. Every seat, 20,000 people went there to watch it together to hopefully celebrate together. And they had a couple thousand people at the War Memorial, the new ice practice. Like, there were thousands of fans just at a watch party. It's changed down here. And I think what you're going to see tonight is at home, and my fingers are crossed, them winning, because if they don't, like you said, that's when all of a sudden you've had that feeling in your gut of, oh, man, let's win game 6. We don't, as much as we want to come back down to Sunrise for game 7, we don't want to come back here for game 7. And you're right. The fan, more than anyone else, deserves this. And I'm talking about those 7,500 were at the games every night during the 20-year stretch where they never made the playoffs. I'm not talking about the 20,000 at the watch party who probably before this year never went to a game. And that's fine. We're not ripping those people. This is the first time in South Florida history that we're inviting people on the bandwagon. Let's go. Let's have this. Let's celebrate this together. The Dolphin fan doesn't do that. The Heat fan doesn't do that. Shit, the Marlins fan doesn't do that. And they should be begging for fans. And the Hurricanes fan doesn't do that. If you weren't on board when Mario was starting, you can't be on board now. If you weren't on board when Tyreek and Tua started playing, you can't jump on now. The Panthers fan is saying, come hang out with us. Let's enjoy this together. So I'm hoping tonight's it, because you're right. They go game 6 or 7. I am going to be also like this.
Yeah.
Biting nails, everything.
Right. I really hope you're right. And I don't know if it's PTSD from
it is
Celtics last year. Yes. And you know, I keep thinking to myself, though, I would be probably feeling, I was like, man, I feel this way because it was 8-1 and the Panthers didn't do anything right. And they looked inept. But you know what? Realistically, I'd be feeling the same way if they lost 2-1 in overtime. Right. I'd be feeling the same way if they lost 4-2. Was it awful? Absolutely. It was. What it does do, though, and what's annoying is it gives Oilers fans this, see how easy that was. But again, me mentally, my 8-1, oh my God, this is a problem. Would have felt the same way with an overtime loss, and that's what I need to keep telling myself. But let me stop you. Let
me stop you, because guess what? For the first time in the history of Ken living in South Florida, Ken is now a South Floridian.
Yeah.
Ken has Ken grew up in Chicago. Ken grew up with the Bulls and the Bears and these teams that were every year supposed to win the championship or close to it. Ken, welcome to South Florida. You are now a South Floridian. In sports, we don't get nice things. And when we do, we get a couple at a time, and then we have to wait 20 years for it again.
Right. But then
welcome. You're here.
People want to shit on it. People want to shit on it more than any other city or area, because South Florida doesn't deserve it.
Right.
Fans aren't good enough, and not enough people show up. More than anything, I want this for Panthers fans, one, because a Stanley Cup is the ultimate prize, but also to finally give a middle finger to everybody else, especially Canadian hockey fans. We have this, you don't, fuck off. Like that to me, like at its core, there's a petty part to this, but Panthers fans absolutely deserve this. They do not deserve to have this continue on when things looked completely in control. And I hope they deserve, and I very, very, very vociferously hope that for their sake and for my sake, because it'll make me feel great, they can finally finish this off. And it makes me feel good that you are confident that things are going to wrap up here
Confidence level is so high up in this office right now that I have already booked a guest for tomorrow morning's emergency podcast of talking about the championship. That's where I'm at right now with this team, because as a South Floridian, your thought process is how I thought my whole life with all my teams. It's, man, we're up in this series 3-1. We can't blow. Oh, God, now it's 3-2. Okay. We're 3-3. Oh, my God. Or this is our year with the Dolphins. We're 8-2. We're 8-3. We're 9-3. We're 9-4. We're 9-5. We're 9-6. We're 9-7. We're 10-7. We're 10-7. We're going to get in the playoffs. Oh, we got to go to KC in a snowstorm. Okay, maybe we could win. Okay, we got blown out. Okay, that's our football season. I don't even need to bring up the goddamn Marlins. We can leave the Marlins alone. And it's the Heat. They're the only things that actually I'm confident about every year because of who's running the team. And guess what? That's how I now feel about the Panthers. With Bill Zito and the ownership there, I feel like they're not on the same page yet because the Heat have won. But if the Panthers win, they're getting closer to having the second best ownership and management in this town. And as a South Floridian, a sports fan who's born and raised down here for 45 years, that makes me happy about another team, because I'm not confident about the Dolphins every year, and I'm not confident about the Hurricane football team every year, because that's our fifth major or fourth major sport down here. The Marlins, I don't want to get into that. But the Heat and the Panthers are kind of getting closer to that same page, which makes me happy. But the confidence, we are not going to be a non-confident show today. We're going to win the championship Stanley Cup tonight. We're going to have an emergency podcast tomorrow. And that's how I want to think for the rest of the day. Because otherwise, I'm going to fall back into that hole of the South Floridian sports fan. And it sucks. But to be honest with you, to sum it all up, I'd just like to welcome Ken to the club, because he was not born down here. He has been down here for a long time. I've been working with Ken for 20 years, covering Dolphins and Panthers and Heat and Marlins and whatever else comes down here. He has finally fell into the hole, which it's unfortunate, but it's true. You can never be that confident about your team unless it's the Heat. And now finally the Panthers, hopefully 3 straight years of really having good teams, 5 straight years of being in the playoffs, either being knocked out in the first round, but a 20-year drought before that, basically, to get to where we are now. I'm confident it's going to happen tonight. And somehow, some way, I'm going to hold that Stanley Cup only after we win. I don't know. I want to drink beer out of it. Can we drink beer out of it? That's what I want to do.
Yeah, you can drink anything out of it. It doesn't matter if you wanted jungle juice out of there. It's fine.
I'm in.
I don't think that anybody is going to anyone's going to judge you on that. So naturally, spent way too much time on the Panthers for a game that's going to be played a couple hours from when we record. But you know what? Who cares? Fuck it. And like Zach said, there will be an emergency, by all accounts, tomorrow, Wednesday, if the Panthers win, with a special guest or maybe a couple. We hope the drunker the better. The drunker the better is what we're aiming for. In fact, if you're a fan and you're really drunk and the Panthers have won the cup, then you'll be a guest on by all accounts. Just tweet at us at KLV Says or at Zach Krantz. By all accounts, youtube.com/@allaccountsshow. Subscribe to it, baby. Or you can listen to the podcast, rss.com/podcast/all-account-show. I'm dreading this. Do you want to talk Tua? Do you want to go down this wormhole, Zach? You want to go down this wormhole?
For people that don't know or don't realize the Tua conversations that happen, there is no hole deeper right now in South Florida than jumping into a Tua conversation about anything. It could be about,
and that's in the last 2 years, 3 years.
Since the day he was drafted.
Yes.
And 15 minutes after that, when Justin Herbert was selected as the next quarterback, that has been the wormhole of all wormholes. Can he play? He's lefty. Can he throw? Ryan Fitzpatrick's better. Brian Flores loves him. Brian Flores hates him. He needs a new coach. What's he doing in the offseason? He can't fall down right. He's in jiu-jitsu. He just threw for 8,000 yards. Is he still the guy? Where do you want to go, Ken? Because I'm ready. I got about 900 different doors. I can open each one and go to a topic.
Well,
right.
I think you're going to find this to be a very slight lean in, but it's going to open up a big door. USA Today's Jarrett Bailey tweeted the following June 13th. If you think Tua Tagovailoa is better than Trevor Lawrence, you may be entitled to financial compensation. That grabbed my attention. It piqued my interest because I started thinking, boy, that is an overwhelming message to send when I don't know if there's anything concrete other than, boy, Trevor Lawrence throws a pretty football that would actually suggest that Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa. And I was thinking about the anti-Tua crowd, as we'll call them. And of course, Trevor Lawrence coming up because Trevor Lawrence just inked the 5-year, $275 million extension, the $200 million guaranteed, $142 fully guaranteed. And so obviously now the ball is fully in Tua's court, in the Dolphins' court. Are they going to pay him more than Trevor Lawrence? Where is he going to fit in here amongst quarterbacks? I mean, when I saw the numbers, when I saw $200 million, $142 fully guaranteed, I'm like, wow, hey, that's going to be pricey for Tua. Like, that exceeds what I thought the Dolphins were going to come to terms with Tua with. So it did catch me off guard. But to this tweet, the anti-Tua brigade, it seems like this is the blueprint. You disrespect Tua. You name another quarterback that you believe to be better than Tua. You don't give actual concrete evidence why the quarterback that you named is better than Tua. And then you insult Dolphins and Tua fans. That is truly the checklist of anti-Tua discourse on social media. Am I wrong about that? Because I think that this fits every parameter. This is like a college course. This is like the syllabus. This and this and this. This would be an A+. It hit all of the guidelines needed for a passing grade of anti-Tua on social media. You've got Tua. You've named another quarterback. You haven't given any evidence as to why that quarterback is better than Tua. And then you insult. In this case, you may be entitled to financial compensation. It seems pretty cut and dry there. That's the blueprint right there, Zach.
I'm surprised this Bailey guy didn't get jumped by all Tua Nation on social media, because that's what happens every time you insult or say anything bad about Tua. That the pro crowd for Tua will attack you like no other. Now, the anti-Tua crowd will also jump on the bandwagon saying, yep, I would take Trevor Lawrence every day over Tua. Trevor Lawrence is better. Trevor Lawrence does this better. I'll tell you this. There's no more polarizing athlete in South Florida and maybe in the entire NFL than Tua. He's got to be right up there with the top 2 or 3 topics when something comes up, front page NFL.com, front page ESPN, whether he's in jiu-jitsu or throws 6 touchdowns or throws 5 picks in a game where they can't win in the cold, or they just beat a good team. It doesn't matter. The Trevor Lawrence thing to me was he came in with, before he threw his third pass at Clemson, he was already the number 1 pick coming up. If he could go out this year, he'd be the number 1 pick. When he goes out in 2 years, he will be the number 1 pick. We're going to watch him for 3 years at Clemson, see what he does. But no matter what, outside of major injury, he is going to be the number 1 guy. Has he come into the NFL and blown you away and become a top 5 quarterback? No, he hasn't. He hasn't.
And everything's an excuse for him. Oh,
right.
He had Urban Meyer in year 1. Oh, Bill Barnwell tweeting, 3rd most drops in the NFL, 3rd biggest drop rate from the Jaguars receivers. Trevor Lawrence got banged up at the end of 2023, and that's why the Jaguars collapsed. For Tua, it's, can't beat good teams. Even though Trevor Lawrence plays in the AFC South
Right.
which up until this past season was the worst division in all of football for multiple seasons in a row.
Right.
Them in the NFC South were like jockeying for position last year for a while. And with Tua, it's, he's got all these weapons and you throw for a lot of yards as well. There ain't hacks in that Jaguars receiving core. Stop it. Like, is Calvin Ridley a hack? No, absolutely not. So it's always an excuse. Oh, well, Trevor Lawrence has won a playoff game. He beat Justin Herbert, and he needed an all-world comeback to do that. Justin Herbert's also in this conversation of what is he really that Tua lives in, that Trevor Lawrence lives in. There's never any concrete quarterback breakdown. It's because Trevor Lawrence looks good throwing a football. Justin Herbert has a rocket arm. He looks better throwing a football. Tua, he doesn't zip it like those two. Oh, but he's more accurate. No. There's not enough zip on that football.
Right.
I also too, I don't, can't beat good teams. Trevor Lawrence has feasted on the worst division in football when he has been able to feast his entire career. Tua apparently doesn't get a pass for Brian Flores being his coach, who was openly criticizing him and yelling at him. But Urban Meyer, can't count that. Can't count that rookie year for Trevor Lawrence because Urban, well, let's have the same type of discussion about what Tua went through. Also, I mean, greatest coach in the history of football, Bill Belichick. Zach, remind me, how many times did Tua lose to the greatest coach in the history of the National Football League? Could you just remind me what that number is?
I don't think he lost at all to New England.
Correct.
I think they were undefeated against New England at that point. And I'll pose this question as a sidebar to this topic here. Let's name the teams in the AFC South real quickly. You got Jacksonville, you got Tennessee, you got Houston. Who am I missing? Indy. Okay.
Tennessee.
Okay. So Tennessee. So is Trevor Lawrence the best quarterback in his division? No. I would take CJ Stroud right now over him. And how many people honestly would go and say, well, for the next 5 or 6 years, I might take Anthony Richardson, thinking what he might be able to do. I'll leave Will Levi's genes out for a little bit, just to throw him out there. And no offense to him, because he's probably going to be a good quarterback in this league, maybe when it's all said and done. If you're not the best quarterback in your own division, how can you be compared to anyone else at this point when another guy who's in year 2 now or year 3 is already better than you in your own division? Does he have better players? Who cares? It doesn't matter at that point. How many years have we seen guys that didn't have the greatest players around them still put up good numbers because they're that good? They're good players. Trevor Lawrence, the only problem with Trevor Lawrence in my mind is that I was expecting the next John Elway. I was expecting the next big thing, the next guy to come in this league and dominate. Peyton Manning, dominate. Brady, I leave out because that's another conversation.
I thought Trevor Lawrence was going to have CJ Stroud's rookie year as a rookie.
Right. And guess what? Trevor Lawrence still hasn't had that year where we're going, whoa, MVP.
Trevor Lawrence hasn't even had a Tua year yet.
Right. Think about that, folks, when you're in this argument. Tua, when he played, we were all worried, oh, man, what's the big thing about Tua? I'm not sure what he could do. But, I don't know if he could play all 17 games. Well, he played all last year, put up really good numbers all year long, almost had a 2,000-yard receiver, threw for unbelievable amounts in games. And if you want to take that Denver game out, you do what you want with it. They scored 70 points, and they did this Tua is right now. If you told me I had to pick Tua or Trevor Lawrence, and I know a lot of people around the NFL might go, are you crazy? I think I pick Tua right now just because of the system he's in, the offense he's in, the way he's playing in that. I would take Tua right now. Maybe 2 years from now, Trevor Lawrence becomes John Elway. But until that happens with the hype around him, Tua didn't come into this league and we thought he'd be the best quarterback in the league within 2 years. Nobody thought that. They wanted to see how the lefty who was injured could play, and he's done pretty good since Flores and Fitzpatrick are off the fucking team. We see that. Trevor Lawrence hasn't, to me, shown at any point that he's a top 5 quarterback in this league. And at certain points during the season, not at the end of the season, which really matters, but at certain points in the season in the last 2 years, Tua has been a top 5 quarterback, if not better than that, in this league which is the crazy part. Statistically, more than anything else, he hasn't won a Super Bowl. We haven't won a playoff game. I get that. That's fine. But if we're just talking stats and how the quarterback plays, you have to go by that. Trevor Lawrence, good player. Trevor Lawrence, not better than Tua right now. Just right now. So stop with that shit. That's
if you want to give me a comprehensive breakdown, which is well past my level of being able to present this, of quarterback mechanics, of types of throws being able to be made as opposed to throws that can't be made by Tua. If you want to do that, if you want to lay out that presentation to me and teach me, I'll accept that. I'm not hard-headed enough where I'm not going to do the whole propaganda thing, like our current political situation where I see what I'm seeing, but refuse to accept it. Right. I am not capable. I am not capable of breaking down throws. It is not my expertise. I never played the quarterback position. I refuse to try and pull wool over people's eyes and try to, prove to them I'm someone I'm not, which is a quarterback guru. Okay. If you did that though, and you said, this is why Trevor Lawrence is better, I'd say, all right, I get it. But to throw out insults like you're a dipshit, if you even have the inkling that Tua might be in the same neighborhood as Trevor Lawrence, or God forbid, be better, I can't accept that. I can't. Oh, Tua throws a lot of interceptions. Last year, they threw for the same number of interceptions, 14. Tua and Trevor Lawrence. He doesn't have a lot of zip on the ball. Oh, okay, well, he's way more accurate than Trevor Lawrence. Oh, but what about arm strength? Tua was top 3 in the NFL in air yards per completion.
Right.
And by the way, Tua led the NFL in receiving. Oh, okay. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence won a playoff game. But it was against Justin Herbert. Okay. They haven't beaten good teams. Trevor Lawrence plays in the AFC South. Okay. So you can throw all these things out there pro Trevor Lawrence that you want, but I can easily come back with a Tua rebuttal. So you're going to have to do better than X quarterback is better than Tua, and this is why, asswipe. You need to fine. I'll take a good insult. I appreciate the asswipe insult. Well done. I think it should be brought back. It's a great insult. It sends a message. It stings. It's good. But how about something tangible and concrete? Because what is being presented as to why Trevor Lawrence absolutely deserves that money and Tua does not, it's invalid, because I think it's a little bit of fantasy.
It is. It totally is at this point. It's still we think Trevor Lawrence is the next John Elway. Like it's still that thought process of that's what you're not paying Trevor Lawrence for what he did, because if that was the case, you're not giving him top 3 money in the NFL. He's not a top 3 quarterback. That's not what guys get paid for. Otherwise, every year Patrick Mahomes would get a raise, and every year Josh Allen would get a raise, and every year these top flight guys would get raises. That doesn't happen. It's the Dak Prescotts, the Tuas, the Trevor Lawrences, all these guys that are in line, the Jared Goffs of the world, that all were the next guy up to get paid more. This, to me, the only thing I'm upset about is that they couldn't get the Tua deal done before all these other deals got done. Because now the Dolphins are in a position where if you try to pay him less than Trevor Lawrence, you don't think he's as good as Trevor Lawrence. And the agents are going to say, you don't think he's as good as Trevor? Trevor just got, look what Trevor got. All this and that. You want to give him less than that. Isn't he? You don't think he's better than Trevor Lawrence?
Right.
The Dolphins put themselves in a shitty situation for that.
They did.
But the whole point is going back to the whole Trevor Lawrence debate, or the debate on who's better. That's what social media is perfect for these days. Social media couldn't be more perfect for all the rats out there, the guys that just want to throw stuff out, throw a punch in your face and walk away. That's what social media is at this point. But give me some fluidity behind it. Give me something behind it, the piece of meat. Don't just tell me you're going to cook me dinner, not cook me dinner. Like, explain to me what's there. Tell me what's there. Show me on the plate what's there. I love these kind of tweets because it's all debatable stuff. But in all honesty, if you went down to the 32 GMs in the league, I'm going to say 30 because we'll take out Chris Greer and whoever the GM is in Jacksonville, and said you could have Trevor Lawrence or Tua right now for the same amount of money for the next 5 or 6 years, I honestly think, and maybe I'm wrong, I honestly think that people would pick Tua because of
Yeah.
what he's capable of doing and what we're still waiting on Trevor Lawrence to do because of the hype. Luckily, the hype train wasn't so much for Tua at this point because then we'd be in a different boat. But for Trevor Lawrence, we both saw it. You covered college football. You're the voice of FAU. You're all over college football every week. Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be the golden child, the next one, the next Manning, Elway, whatever you want to call it. I haven't seen it yet. And with Tua, I've seen a lot, not playoff wins, but I've seen a lot since he's become the starter without Brian Flores there. And I'm excited to see what happens the next couple of years with him. For Trevor Lawrence, guys are leaving Jacksonville. People don't necessarily want to stay in Jacksonville. Is it Tua's fault that Tyreek's here or Jalen Waddle's here? No. So give me a break with that.
At its core, it just feels like Trevor Lawrence gets the benefit of the doubt as the better quarterback because he looks more like a quarterback and he came out of college with an awful lot of expectation. It's almost like people are willing him to be awesome. That has to be it because from a resume standpoint and from a number standpoint, nothing that's suggested about how much better Trevor Lawrence is than Tua Tagovailoa actually exists. And that's the bottom line to the entire thing. Hey, you want to wrap up with donuts real quick? You want to talk donuts real quick?
Yes.
So I had no idea that this was actually humanly possible. That a grown man, and how old is Tyreek Hill? What is he? He's in his early 30s, right?
Gotta be like 30, 31. Yeah, right around there.
Let me double check here. Let me just double check Tyreek Hill's age. God forbid I would hate to. Oh, he's 30. He just turned 30. Okay. Yeah. He turned 30 on March 1st. Happy belated birthday to Tyreek Hill. Nice. Tyreek Hill at age 30 apparently ate a donut for the very first time in his entire existence. This is at Soul Runner. It is a gamer's account. Tyreek Hill, a pretty prominent gamer. This is Tyreek Hill trying a donut for the first time in his life. So he claims. And get a load of this reaction from Tyreek Hill and how he consumes his first donut experience.
Those ones here, not so much. Trust it.
I think you were right.
You're right. It looks good, but oh wait. Ooh. That's kind of good. The first part not good though.
So that's Tyreek Hill apparently trying a donut for the first time. Now, Olympic caliber athletes, and he's an Olympic caliber athlete, ran track and field. He's maybe the fastest human being to ever grace an NFL field. Much respect to those folks because they're unbelievably disciplined like Tyreek Hill is. He's taken care of his body for an awful long time. His body is his paycheck. His body is his livelihood, and he has apparently treated it as such. I just can't fully wrap my mind around, comprehend Tyreek Hill not having a donut until age 30. It's not like we're talking about caviar or something high priced or something that is from a distant foreign land. Right. It's a goddamn donut. And he claims he never had a donut until age 30. That's wild to me. That is stunning to me. Maybe it's why you and I are sitting here and Tyreek Hill does what he does.
That's my whole thought process through that video was, Mom, Dad, screw you. If you wouldn't have given me a donut till I was 30, I could have been Tyreek Hill. I could have been Tyreek because I'm watching that video thinking it took him 30 years to get to that point, and it takes me 30 seconds to eat 2 donuts combined. Okay. Yeah. And maybe 2.5 minutes to eat an entire half dozen at that point. It took him 30 years to take a bite of one. Good for him and also bad for him because you've been missing out for 30 years on a delicacy, a good one. If you get a good donut, you're very happy with that donut. Doesn't mean that I'm a full donut guy. I don't, oh my God, I got to have a donut. But who doesn't enjoy a good fresh donut every once in a while? And this guy took 30 years to get there. I know he's an Olympic athlete. I know he's in great shape. I know his body's his temple. I get all that stuff. But damn, he's been missing out for 3 decades on a good warm, no Krispy Kreme donut, nothing in this guy's life. I feel bad for him now.
So it appeared as if he was eating a chocolate frosted donut, just
Right.
an old school chocolate frosted donut there. I didn't quite get his taste test or his critique of the donut.
It was
the first
weird,
part
right?
wasn't good. Yeah. Like, is he talking about the doughy part? Like that's the first part,
Because
and then
it
the
looked-
chocolate hit his lips, and then he was into it. What was
that
what was
had to be
critique?
it. It looked like he took the bite and then started to chew and was like, ooh, like this is a weird thing. And then all of a sudden the chocolate hit and he goes, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This isn't so bad at that
Let's
point.
just watch it real quick again, because
Right.
I believe he was objectively eating it like a weirdo as well. Hold on one second. Let's just see his approach here to it.
Those ones here.
Two hands.
Smells it first.
I think you were right. You're right. It looks
All right.
good, but
So he smells it. You're right. And then he's using two hands. I don't think when's the last time you've eaten a donut with two hands? But fine. Maybe it's not as weird as I thought. I thought he ate it from the bottom. He did get a proper ratio of dough part to chocolate part. I wanted to make sure, too, it wasn't a cream-filled donut. There is a hole. There is a visible hole
Right.
there. We've seen the eye of the donut. Chocolate frosted. Is it the number one overall donut of all time? It's simple, but it's got everything you love in a donut. The doughy part, and then half of it is topped with chocolate, but not too much chocolate for those that maybe don't want to be overwhelmed. Is the chocolate frosted donut the number one overall donut in life?
It gets my vote for number one. The glazed donut is obviously good. The original just glazed donut is fine. And we're not talking about specialty donuts. We're talking about the
Just get
6
their
or
core.
7 core donuts that
Yeah.
a donut shop should have. And if they don't, they shouldn't be considered a donut shop. The chocolate frosted donut has to be number one. If you even in the least bit like chocolate, you're going to get a chocolate frosted donut. Glaze has got to be close to that.
Is
I'm just-
glazed? I put glazed number 2.
Yeah,
I
glaze
would
got to
put
be
a glazed
2.
donut
Yes.
number 2.
I'm not a big jelly donut guy. Like
No,
I
I actually hate jelly donuts, and I
Yeah.
don't love custard-filled donuts
No.
or cream-filled donuts or anything like that.
I want my donut to be like you said. I need to see the eye. I need to have the topping on top of it. I need a nice, donut texture, not too hard. You go to some of these donut places 3:00 in the afternoon, it's like eating rocks at that point. You got to get the donut early in the morning when it comes out fresh, or when it's at least the least bit fresh, or whatever Krispy Kreme does to their donuts 24 hours a day, because it seems like they're always fresh at that point. But yeah, if you're not saying chocolate frosted is one, I'm guessing at that point you're a jelly or a custard guy, and that's the reason why you're not going there. But I would think if you're allowed one donut for the rest of your life and that's it, it's chocolate frosted, and I'm not looking back after that.
So chocolate frosted is number 1. Glazed is number 2.
Right.
I love old-fashioned donuts. They're just so soft, and they basically just melt in your mouth. I like those, but I don't think enough of them. There's enough people that would put them even in a top 5.
Right.
I'm a big fan of apple fritters, and I went through a stage
Ooh.
in college with apple fritters. I actually am willing to put apple fritters in my top 5 best donuts.
I'm going to throw apple fritters probably in there at some point. I do like them. What about the coffee roll? Is that considered the donut also, like the coffee roll? Because if you go to like a Dunkin' Donuts, you can get a coffee roll, but I don't know if it's considered a donut or if it's just like the coffee roll. Like, I don't know where that goes.
I actually don't quite know. I don't. Is that a donut? I don't know.
Because I'm okay with you saying, no, you can't put that on the list, but that would probably be where my next
I
order
think
would be.
a coffee roll is actually like a cinnamon roll. Like,
Yeah, it's close to it.
think
Right.
I think it lives in a different family, to be quite
Okay.
honest.
So then, yeah, but you know what also is weird? I forgot who it was. The great Gino Torretta. One day when we were having a donut, this is how far back we go with donut conversations. They're forever, especially if you're an old radio guy. You talk about donuts a lot. He brought up to me the most underrated donut at one of these donut shops is the sour cream donut. Have you ever had a sour cream donut?
No.
And it's not like sour cream like you're getting fajitas and you're putting sour cream on, fajita or taco. It's something I have not tried it because I'm afraid of it. I like sour cream and onion potato chips, but I'm afraid of a sour cream donut because I don't know what that tastes. But he told me that, and that's always been on my mind to try it, and I never have. But sour cream donut has got to be up there. That's what he told me. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I was wrong. Not an old-fashioned donut. That's not what I like. A French cruller is what I like.
Oh, that's a big, major. Yes, because French cooler still got a little bit, not like the glaze of a donut.
No, but
there's
it's
a
got
little
like
bit on there.
And then it like melts. And that's the stuff right there.
I'm going to put French cooler at 3. If we're doing glaze 2 and chocolate frosted 1, I'm actually going to put French cooler at 3. And then I could slip in apple fritter at 4 and be happy with that selection.
Okay.
Right there. Yeah.
And so I think my number 5, I'm going to slot in a bear claw. How do you feel about that? A bear claw. You've got to be in the mood for it because it's big, right? It's bulky, it's girthy, but you can't stop eating it. You run the risk of feeling terrible if you consume the entire thing, but they're really, really damn good, and there's not a damn piece of liquid or goo or jelly inside of it, which is a plus.
I don't like anything with like the middle stuff. I'm just not like I can't like if somebody gets a dozen donuts from a donut, the middle stuff, right? If somebody gets like a dozen donuts and brings it to like somewhere, the first thing I look for is how many normal donuts there are in that dozen. And when I mean normal, I'm saying the eye, the center, the opening in the middle, the bagel-like eye. I need that in my donut. And when I see 5 or 6 of them in there as the kind of custard or jelly or something in the middle, I quickly grab 1 to 2 of the normal donuts to make sure that my quota is filled with that donuts out of that dozen. It's weird too, because I think a million years ago when I was a huge Simpsons fan, I was infatuated with like the strawberry donut with the sprinkles on it because of Homer.
Sure.
I'd like to throw that in there as my number 5.
Okay.
Because I don't like the vanilla topped one as much as I do the strawberry one. And I'm not sure why.
Agreed. I'm with you. And the strawberry is objectively prettier as well.
It just looks good, right?
For the color explosion, and it's good. One thing I think you and I agree on based on this conversation, we haven't brought it up, and I think there's a reason why. Down with the powdered donut. Too messy, too dry, nothing appealing about the powdered donut.
Right. I feel like when you talk about a powdered donut, it goes back to those like little packs you get in the vending machine of like the 4, and then after you eat the first one, you're like, oh, it's not so bad. But when you go for that second one, you're like you can't breathe. You're like a cat, like with a hairball trying to think. I don't want to eat a donut and feel like it's possible that I'm going to die and choke to death eating it. I want to enjoy that donut. And I don't want to take a bite and then like the whiff of sand flies back into my throat. You're right. The powdered donut was not brought up for that reason, that it's not in my 5. It's probably not in my 10 and probably not in the 15. Even if there was 15 donuts in a place to rank, I'd probably go 15 for that just automatically off the bat.
Yep. Shout out French cruller, probably the most underrated donut in existence. And man, I'm glad that I rectified that mistake, because that was going to be something I would lose sleep over if I didn't give the French cruller the proper credit and went with an old-fashioned donut. What the hell?
But the old-fashioned still better than the powder. The old-fashioned that is just the donut, and somebody forgot to put the topping on it, and then went, let's just put it up there. Maybe we'll sell it as a normal old-fashioned donut. That's still better than me choking to death in it, because that's the headline I don't want, as you could tell by my stature and my round stature.
Suffocates on powdered donut. Yeah, that's a rough eulogy, and that embarrasses the family as well.
Right. I don't need my brother and my wife and my son walking around for the next 20 years answering the question hey, what happened to Zach? He choked on a powdered donut at Dunkin' Donuts. And God love him, that was his last day. If he was going to go, he was going to go at a donut shop. But let me choke on a chocolate frosted donut before I choke on a powdered one.
Yeah. Choking on a chocolate frosted donut or getting scolded to death by hot coffee. That's a much more respectable donut death than suffocating at the hands of a powdered donut.
Then the picture of me with my mouth open with the powder on my chest. Right.
It's not a good scene.
I just shut my eyes and thought about that, and I feel like my wife just slapped me just for even thinking about that. Jesus.
Oh man, that brightened my day. That donut conversation, and then the hypothetical discussion around Zach and his donut-related death. That'll do it for by all accounts. Again, subscribe youtube.com/@allacountshow, youtube.com/@allacountshow, as Zach is properly demonstrating for you as we speak. And if you're listening to the podcast, just trust me when I tell you he was demonstrating at rss.com/podcast/. YouTube.com/all-account show. If the Panthers get it done, we're recording this on a Tuesday.
When they get it done.
When, my apologies. It'll be an emergency show tomorrow, a Panthers Stanley Cup emergency by all accounts. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll drop it, we'll celebrate, and we'll have ourselves a great time. Oh, please, God, hockey gods, make this happen. Zach, enjoy tonight, and I'm expecting I'll be talking with you tomorrow.
You will be talking with me tomorrow as we hoist our fake Stanley Cup here on the show. Vamos Gatos. If you're from South Florida, that's how we say go Panthers, go Cats down here. We don't say go Panthers. We don't say Florida Panthers are number one. It's Vamos Gatos.
For those of you in Canada, that's a language called Spanish. That's Zach. I'm Ken. It's been by all accounts. Bye-bye.